6 weeks. That's when most women get their one postpartum checkup, hear everything looks good, and get sent back into the world as if the healing is finished. But your body did not get the email that recovery ends at 6 weeks. And the data is painfully clear. The weeks after that one appointment are among the most dangerous of all. So today, let's talk about the trimester that doesn't have an official name, but is part of the critical healing window no one has explicitly named, but counts for so many reasons. The fourth. I'm Dr. Av, and this is High Risk and Highly Capable, the show for mothers of advanced maternal age and everyone who loves us. Last episode, we honored your mind, matrescence, and the mental health that comes with it. Today, we turn to your body and the recovery no one really prepares you for. There's a name for the 12 weeks after birth, the fourth trimester. And it isn't a soft phrase someone invented to make a hard season sound gentle. It's a clinical reality. Your body spent the better part of a year transforming. It does not snap back in 6 weeks. The visit everyone treats as the finish line. The fourth trimester is twice that, 12 weeks. 84 days, and even 84 is only part of your recovery we have bothered to name. And it is worth knowing where that name came from because the history tells you exactly who the system was watching. The term was popularized in 2002 by a pediatrician, Dr. Harvey Karp, in a book for new parents titled The Happiest Baby on the Block. He was describing the baby. His argument was that human newborns arrive after 3 months before they are finished, less developed at birth than nearly any other mammal, and that those first 12 weeks are kind of a fourth trimester spent adjusting to the world outside the womb. But notice who is at the center and who is holding the baby. The mother got added later. It took until 2018, 16 years later actually, for the American College of Obstetrician and Gynecologists, who should sound familiar because this is the organization that endorses doulas as critical personnel of the maternity care Avengers. They published an opinion claiming the fourth trimester, that postpartum care and ongoing process necessary for long-term health and well-being, acknowledging that the single 6-week visit was never enough and that this season belongs as much to the woman recovering as to the newborn adjusting. So when I say no one prepared you for this, hear me clearly. That is not an indictment of your doctor. The name for your recovery is younger than most of the mothers listening to this show right now. The good news, though, is that the standard of care is catching up to the truth. Leading obstetric guidelines now say postpartum care should be an ongoing process, not a single visit. The recommendation is to connect your obstetric care provider through a phone call, a video visit, or an appointment, so as long as it is someone on your care team laying eyes on you within the first 3 weeks after birth, and to have a full comprehensive checkup by 12 weeks. So if anyone makes you feel that your 6-week visit is the finish line, know this: the experts themselves no longer believe that. You are entitled to more. And it is worth knowing what that guideline says the visit should be, because it is a great deal more than a quick look and a wave. It describes postpartum care as a continuous process tailored to you, not a single encounter on a calendar. It says your timing of that comprehensive visit should be individualized and woman centered. It says the visit should be a full assessment of your physical, social, and psychological well being. All three, not just part that can be measured with a cuff. It says it is the place to talk about whether you want another pregnancy and how you would like to space it. And it also says if you are living with a chronic condition, either high blood pressure, diabetes, a thyroid condition, kidney disease, maybe a mood disorder, or a substance use disorder, you should be counseled about timely follow up with your OB or your primary care provider so that somebody is actually coordinating your care instead of everyone assuming somebody else's. And the guideline was not the only thing that moved. We consider guideline like a blueprint. What gets built depends on who is paying for the materials. And I spent many years inside of federal health policy watching that part change. So let me tell you what changed. For example, in Medicaid, which finances a substantial share of the births in this country, used to cut a mother's coverage off 60 days after she delivered. 60 days inside a window we now know runs a full year. The American Rescue Plan gave states the option to extend that coverage to 12 months. Congress made the option permanent in 2023. Nearly every state has taken that option. I tell you this for one reason. Knowing how to navigate this maternity care system changes how you move and what to ask for. When you call at 3 weeks, you are not asking anyone for a favor. You are requesting something the guideline recommends. And the payment system is being actively rebuilt to support it. And if you are told it isn't covered, that is a question to take to your plan because we know that it's not a verdict. It is something that we should and can investigate further. Now, the hard part said plainly, because as I mentioned in prior episodes, vague comfort has never kept a woman safe in this country. Before we get to what is dangerous, let me name what is simply hard because the guideline itself names it. And I want you to hear that these things are well documented. Lack of sleep, fatigue, pain, breastfeeding difficulties, stress, mental health conditions arising or reemerging, no desire for sex, urinary incontinence. And for some women, everything that was already there before the pregnancy, a substance use disorder, a partner who is not safe at the home. Then add the structure around you. Your care in these weeks is split between the provider looking after you and the pediatrician looking after your baby. And the handoff from hospital to home tends to be inconsistent. So if you have felt like you slipped through a crack, hear me, the crack is structural. You did not fall through it. You were handed across it and nobody caught you, which is why this show exists because it is designed to help you walk through it just a little easier. A large share of pregnancy related deaths happen not during birth, but after in the days, the weeks, and months postpartum. The CDC is clear that serious complications can arise up to 1 year after delivery. And the most common causes after birth are mistaken for new motherhood concerns. Infection, heart conditions, dangerous bleeding, and high blood pressure disorders like preeclampsia, which can appear for the first time after the baby is already here. And let me say the part that belongs specifically to us. At 35 and beyond, the conditions sitting at the top of that list, The blood pressure disorders, the heart conditions are the ones that turn up more often in our age group. I am not telling you this to frighten you. I'm telling you because it changes what you do with the information. It means this season deserves more of your attention and not less. It means the headache is worth the phone call. And it means that when someone suggests you are just tired because you are older, you get to say, maybe possibly, but I still like my blood pressure taken. None of this is bad luck. It is the result of a system with major shortcomings. We send moms home, tell them to rest, and don't always tell them what to watch for or provide useful resources that can point them in the right direction and get the right support when they need it. Here is this episode's tool, a short list of urgent warning signs drawn straight from the CDC's Hear Her campaign. We don't need to memorize a textbook. Know these and know that the window is far longer than you might think. The national guidance runs a full year after birth. Get care right away and say the words, I gave birth recently. And if you experience either a headache that won't go away or keeps getting worse, changes in your vision, trouble breathing or chest pain, a fever or very heavy bleeding, or even swelling, redness, or pain in one leg. And a number worth knowing is a blood pressure reading over 160 on the top or 110 or the bottom is an emergency, not a mention it in the next visit. There are emotional warning signs too. Feeling overwhelmed, sadness or anxiety, or thoughts that actually might frighten you. If you recall from our last episode, we drew a line at 2 weeks. The difference between the blues that lift on their own and the feelings that settle in, deepen, or start to frighten you. I am repeating it here deliberately because it belongs on this list every bit as much as a fever or a headache does. Call your provider and remember the number we gave you last week to the National Maternal Mental Health Hotline, 1-833-TLC Mama. And above all the lists, the most important rule the CDC itself leads with is if something just doesn't feel right, you do not need to be sure. Make the call. And let me be precise about that year because it matters. A year is where the official guidance stops. It is not where your body's story ends. Researchers following women after a hypertensive pregnancy, such as preeclampsia, gestational hypertension, or after a serious postpartum hemorrhage, find heart and blood pressure risk that stays elevated for years, well past any postpartum window. That is not a reason to spend the next decade afraid. It is a reason to carry one sentence into every appointment you have for the rest of your life. You can say, I had a hypertensive pregnancy or I hemorrhaged after delivery. Say it at 40, say it at 50, say it to the cardiologist who has no idea you have ever gave birth. Your birth history is heart history, and it only protects you if it is said out loud and documented. And while we watch for the dangerous, let's also make room for the ordinary truth. Healing takes time, and at our age, it can take a little more. Your body is not behind schedule. There is no medal for bouncing back. Rest is not indulgence. It is recovery, and recovery is care. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and you were never meant to refill it alone, which is where we're headed next time. And there is a piece of that same guideline that almost never makes it into the conversation. Across much of the world, culture does this work for the mother. 30 days, 40 days, even 60 days of prescribed rest. The woman is fed particular foods. The household work is carried by other hands. The newborn is kept close while everyone else keeps the world turning. The United States has no such tradition, formal or informal. What we have is a casserole, a card, and a question about when you're going back to work. A postpartum doula can fill part of that gap. But if you have been wondering why this season feels harder than it looks like it should, it is not because you are fragile. It is because you are doing alone what most of the world has never asked a mother to do. So, to the woman who has handed their baby and heard a brief quip, "You're all set," and sent home to figure out the rest, you are not all set. You are in the fourth trimester, a real season with real risks and real needs. You deserve to be watched over thoughtfully, thoroughly, every week of it. Know the signs, activate your mother wit, that knowing the women in our families carried long before anyone published a study to confirm it. And give yourself the same fierce attention you give your baby. I'm Dr. Av. This is High Risk and Highly Capable. Next time, we gather the people who carry you through all of it, your village. At every stage, every age, take care of yourself. You're worth caring for. Until next time.